the first media consulting podcast, The Business Chronicles, where we dive deep into the stories of successful business owners. Here's your host, Didi and Nicholas. Thanks for joining today. Let's talk.
Welcome, everyone, to our podcast. I'm so excited to introduce to you Sergio with Casa Services, Inc., and just excited for him to share his successes, his inspirational stories of how he got to where he's at, and also give our listeners, those that are looking to start a business, inspiration on how to go about some of the things to look for in reference to becoming an entrepreneur. Sergio, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I can't complain, man. So let's dive in a little bit. Let's, give us a little bit of your background, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, we started Casa probably over 18 years ago. We started as a landscaping company. I've been a remodeler for quite some time as a kid. Had my first business at 16, hired my classmates to paint houses. And then we ended up working under a contractor for above the required time. Usually it's 4 years, 1 year as a foreman. We ended up with our contractor for about 6 years, running his company, running mine, and learning the business, which is real testament to what the process is for Florida. There was a time where contractors would pay for their experience, and hopefully those times are long gone. Being a contractor is not knowledge, but it's where to find the correct knowledge, and you never stop learning in this business. It's like any other business. It has a cycle. It's about 8 months out of the year. So for 4 months, we're either have overwork that we had scheduled from before, or we continue having new work during the slow times as well. It's a great business. I think those that are in it for life. And those that wanted to get into it, it's a great startup because in Florida, we have a lot of factors that keep our business going, but it's been a really great experience thus far, not only starting the company way back then, but also everything that we've learned throughout the process.
I love that, man. And it's like you have, I always talk to a lot of business owners, and there's always a story to tell from where they're at, where they started to where they're at today. And those stories actually make you a better person over time. So I know, you guys offer so many different services, whether it's ADUs or home additions and new builds and remodeling. You're a general contractor and you do it all, correct?
Yeah, we do. We've been into a couple of niche markets, which has made us stand out. We go online and we find ourselves in the top 5% of contractors for Florida, which is absolutely exciting. We've also done a lot of work for the municipalities, for structural work. I give a lot of testament to my mentor who has been deceased for quite some time. His name is Don Callow. Don actually showed the old school way. We were drafting pencil and paper, no CAD. We were also doing structural repairs from a consultant that we get hired to go worldwide to solve other people's problems. So we kind of learned the business from the problem side and how to solve those, which makes us more firefighters than anything else. We're putting out other people's fires successfully and has given us the reputation that we have today. Yeah, we can build a new house. Absolutely. There's a lot of great new home builders that are out there. Most of them don't do remodeling. A lot of times for us, most of our work is remodeling. We work with national investors, the big groups, and we've also worked with smaller investors doing those type of works. But our excitement is always in solving problems. We have about 7 structural jobs that we are repairing homes, long-term repairs, not temporary fixes. These are long-term engineer plan repairs that do take some time, but once the work is done, it's a bunker. At the end of the day, that's what keeps our industry flowing as well. A lot of the information that we put out in the field, the DBPR also uses it for testing. They sent us emails. We provide sample questions and things like that. It appears that my contractor license is going to be split into other licenses again, which is great because there's a lot of trade industries like retention walls that there's a lot of companies out there that's all they do, and they should have their own license. There's other licenses that are absolutely insane, which is tile laying. I know of 2 counties in the entire state of Florida that have a tile laying license. Not sure what that's all about, but the code is enhanced by the municipalities. It's created by the state, and always hire a contractor. I think a lot of times people's perceptions are to hire a handyman, hire someone that's not licensed. The license protects the consumers. If your guy walks away with your money, you have to take him to court. If contractors walk away with your money, we go in front of the DBPR. We can lose our license, we can lose our livelihoods, and it's a good insurance for homeowners. You're not necessarily saving money. Handyman and contractors have creeped up at the same price points at this time. The skill is the difference, right? We are the only license that can sub to the trades. Handyman cannot sub to the trades. So if you're doing plumbing work, let's say you're changing out your granite countertop, right? Well, your granite countertop has a valve, has a faucet, correct? So at that point, you need a plumber. You touch that pipe and you are not a plumber, that is a crime in the state of Florida for unlicensed contracting. So a lot of times you get what you pay for, and knowing that the number one issue for homes flooding are usually through the pipes, right? Pipe burst, bad connection, something behind the wall, which is what we run into a lot now. We've had the opportunity to do and fix code enforcement violations prior to us. We've been a great consultant. We have great clients in that aspect as well. And we're doing about 12 or 13 of those jobs right now, where other people's work, either people walked away, they never closed the permit, or it was done improperly. So they'll hire us, we'll come in, we'll make sure everything passes inspections, passes code, is done properly, and then those permits are closed, which you need, right? It doesn't make sense until you try to sell the property. And that's when the scrambler comes in, where people see open permits. You have to have permits. You have to pull permits to be able to do a lot of the work, construction work in your homes.
That's a lot of great information. Very good information, man. And I appreciate you kind of sharing that with our listeners. Let's dive into a little bit about what has made you successful. A few pointers.
I think we never focus on the money. I think that's you talk to a lot of millionaires, trillionaires, billionaires. I don't know where it's at now. I think Elon is going to make the first trillionaire. But I think the biggest thing is not to focus on the money. We focus on the job at hand. We do 30-day forecasts. We do 60-day forecasts. I happen to do 6 months to 12-month forecasts, and we align our work properly. We align it to be able to meet the current employee base that we have, or subcontractor base that we have. We take on only the work that we can handle. I think a lot of times when you focus just on the money, sometimes you get into a little bit of a jam, taking more than you can handle, and then you're having to struggle to please all of your clients. And what a lot of contractors do is they throw a little grain of salt in each one on a weekly basis just to keep the clients happy that somebody was there. Well, we actually just take on the work. We put them on the schedule. We have a little bit more of a system in place, which processes are huge. So one would be not focus on the money. Two would be you have to be a process company no matter what you do. You can sell widgets, you can sell real estate, you can do construction, you can sell furniture. It doesn't matter. You have to have a process. Our processes are not just for the field, but also for the back of the house. We have admins that are really the heart of the business, that are collecting our money, making sure permits are closed, and making sure that our jobs are running forward in the way that we do. I say conveyor belt. We can bring in painters, we can bring in demo people first, we can bring in painters next, then the handyman, then quality control, et cetera, et cetera. So at any point in that chain, somebody says, "Hey, I want to paint a house." No problem. We just put you in our conveyor belt, and when the painters free up from that one, they go to yours and they keep going. So we have a lot of flexibility in the volume of business that we can take. So processes is the second part, and the third part to any business is you can't never give up. You can never give
Absolutely.
up.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. And it seems like that's a trend among a lot of the business owners that I'm talking to. That is the thing. Never give up. So let's talk about a few challenges, if you will, Sergio. Do you have a couple challenges out there that you guys
Yeah,
are faced with?
yeah. I mean, I think in 2008 we had supply chain issues that really taught us a
Hmm.
lot. At the time, I was doing big business with, and I was doing contractor work for one of the big box stores. And I think that taught us a lot. We sought refuge, we all did, from the construction industry, just because the banks had collapsed. A lot of the things that we deal with in Florida, and we seem to be ground zero for a lot of the financial collapses, not necessarily real estate or construction, but when the banks close up, our industry gets trashed. And right now, in the last 3.5 years, we've had to deal with inflation. We've had to deal with unlicensed work. We've had to deal with a lot of people coming into our market that think that they know what they're doing, and they are doing really, really, really shoddy work. So I feel bad for homeowners that now have to double pay, triple pay for the work to get done properly. And you don't find those out until you're ready to move on, and it's forced a lot of people to sell their homes. So the challenges really are self-inflicted. If we stay the course and license and use licensed contractors, then we should not be in that situation where the work is shoddy or the work is not properly done. Of course, there's going to be
Very,
exceptions to those, and there's investigators from the state for that. There's a process for you to get your money back if it's gone, and we always encourage people to go to the DBPR. It's where our license is held. We have zero claims for a reason. We just have to be good diligence of what we have been given in communicating with people and doing the right thing.
very nice, man. Very nice. And this is just great information for our listeners to, at least get some advice, from professionals such as yourself. So we have listeners that are wanting to be aspiring entrepreneurs or want to own their own business. Can you give us one or two tips on, or give them one or two tips on some of the things that you look for or that you've come across in terms of, trying to be that business owner?
Well, it's just like Robert Kiyosaki said, who moved my cheese, right? At the end of the day, we have to move as the market moves, right? Right now, it looks like new builds are going to come back this coming year because the bank system we're hoping is more solid this coming year. Um, what I would say is make sure you partner up with your resources before you jump in. Make sure you have a good banker. Make sure you qualify for a credit line. Make sure you have money. It takes money to make money. I built businesses with zero money, which meant every day I had to shuffle between credit cards and cash and get out of those holes. But you have to have a year's worth of money in your bank. If you want to be in business, you have to have that money to back you up. If you don't have it, then it's just a hobby, right? There's a lot of hobbies out there, and there's nothing wrong with it. I tell my children, you have your set job, but if you want the extras, then you get a secondary job, or you do side work, or you do other things to generate income. You have to have that base. If it's two of you in a home, then I would suggest that one keep a job, one takes the plunge, and that way you create that safety net for your families. But the biggest hurdle in this is always cash. You have to be diligent. If you have $100,000 in cash and you owe $200,000, how much money do you have?
Correct.
I would say zero,
Right.
because you owe the 100 grand and you still owe another 100 grand. So at
Right.
the end of the day, that $100,000 in the bank is not yours. Sometimes we have to pay bills. Sometimes things pop up out of nowhere that we have to pay for, and those are understandable. That's an emergency fund. That's completely different from an operational account. So cash is key. Credit lines are key. Good credit is key. For a lot of licenses in the state of Florida, you have to have good credit and you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank. But don't get discouraged, because at some point you get there. Some people say, "Oh, how am I going to save money? I don't make any money." Well, if you're eating out your meals, 5 to 7 times a week, that's where your money's going. If you have other
Absolutely.
places and you like to go out and have a good time, that's where your money's going. There's a lot of sacrifice in business, And if you talk to most people, they die still sacrificing for their businesses. The big successful people didn't make it overnight just because there was an opportunity that they seized the moment. It's almost like the parable goes, right? We are sent different ways to get out of a hole, but we ignore those different ways because we have our own way of getting out of that hole. Well, sometimes you got to let go, and you got to be driven into where the solution needs to be. And the solution is
That's
always work hard and don't give up.
Well, that's well stated, man. Just again, some great advice. So, as we wrap up here, can you give our listeners a phone number as well as a website to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. We just got our website done. It looks absolutely amazing. That's www.casamiaservices.com. I'm really proud of the way it turned out. It looks awesome. And also, you can always call me directly at 407-921-9020. We do have an office number, which we do not use. We just used it for the state and for different agencies to call us through that number. You can always reach me directly. We're always looking for people to mentor into our business. We're always looking for people to start in our business. So we do have training programs. If you wanted to get into the trades, you can come in and work for us and learn the different trades and go with our trade partners if that's what you decide. So if you wanted to be a plumber, my plumber is hiring. If you want to be an electrician, my electrician is hiring. Those are great trades that there's schools for in Central Florida that you can get educated and get it done. But definitely there's resources out there. So the American dream is still alive for those that are willing to sacrifice.
Wow, man, it's been a pleasure having you and giving your inspirational thoughts to our listeners about your business. And it's just a lot to really take in. And you've provided such great information. Well, I want to thank you so much, and hopefully we can have you back in the near future.
Sounds like a plan. It was a pleasure being here always.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to First Media Consulting Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, subscribe today. To nominate a business you would like to recommend to be on our show, go to firstmediaconsulting.com or call. Thank you for listening.